All right, welcome back to another episode of Into the Valley. Today we will be looking back on Charlton's 1-1 draw against West Brom. Wasn't pretty.
Oh, God, that was a really tough watch. I mean, we've said that about quite a few games this season where we've just said actually really hard one to watch. But we did also say before the game kicked off that it was a must not lose, and it wasn't crucial that we won. The winning would have been lovely because it would have pushed us further away from that group. But to draw keeps West Brom firmly down there. Their fans were not happy at all but with the result. And to be honest, it's an away game. In any away game in the Championship, going away with a draw is
I think Nathan Jones said that, didn't he, at the beginning of the season? If you go away, a point away in any Championship game is a good result.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, there's definitely some concerns in there, but the more this goes on and the more we keep picking up points in this kind of manner where we're just playing, for large periods of the game, pretty terrible football.
Yeah.
I think I texted you after the game yesterday, and I think the only way I can sum it up is we're incredibly good at being crap.
Yeah.
Because the realistic side is there's lots of teams who play that way, because I thought we went into it with such a negative mindset, and we showed, I felt like we'd almost set up and showed the respect of playing a team that were towards the top of the table. And I understand there's this whole you can't lose, and I agree. I think it was a must not lose in any capacity, but there's a part of my brain that just thinks surely the must not lose side of that doesn't mean we have to chuck everyone behind the ball and just be completely and utterly lump it. We had no creativity at all, and look, it's the broken record of the season in regards to creativity. But I think when you look at it, surely they are still to me, even League One players should be able to play the passes round a little bit better than what we do.
Yeah.
But it does not always, and there are games where we get seriously found out. But in a grand scheme, especially when we're defensively solid, we do seem to pick up the points and the results. And you look at so many games this season where we've been saying that, but coming away with points, and it makes you think there is method to the madness. Because if there wasn't, we'd be losing.
There definitely is. I think that the thing that makes that sort of tactic risky for Charlton at the moment is that our created chances are so low. We have to be deadly clinical if we're going to actually get anything out of the game.
Do you think as well we also rely on relative fortunate of them not taking their chances? Because I also look at the game and think,
we were
don't
lucky.
think West Brom had as many clear cut as other teams who played, but there was.
We were lucky though. They had some they should have scored.
That they should have scored, but it seems like almost that tactic does rely on the fact that we are playing a Championship, and as much as it is a good quality, players do miss relatively good chances. And we play to that.
And I think, to be fair, West Brom is an example of a team that I think I've watched a few videos since the game, and their fans were very much saying that was a massive improvement on what they've seen recently in terms of their performance. I think we allowed them to sort of look better though, because we gave them so much of the ball. But then they've also, their big problem has been the whole season is taking their chances, and that's ultimately what cost them yesterday. They should have beaten us yesterday with the performance we put in, but getting away with a point feels like a win to me because one, we've kept them down the bottom, but also we have come away with a really well-earned point in the end because we had to battle hard at the end and throughout the game, to be honest. But it was one of those games where you actually come away and you think, we've got a result from playing very badly, and that is a skill in a weird way. They always say, if you can get any sort of result playing in a bad way, fair play to you. You've managed to grind it out. So
they normally talk that way though when it's like a title challenge.
They do.
It's not normally this way around, but I say we just have an innate ability to play badly, but still somehow grind out wins, points. Because I think when you look at the game at the Valley against them, it was relatively similar. I think we had little spells in the game, but from memory, that was the game where I think Ibby Fuller might have had it.
I think Isaac, Ibby
Fuller came on in the 70th minute, didn't he? And then we scored the last. It was that weird deflected carry from the corner.
I was there at that game, but I remember Price having a couple of big chances in that game. So that's been their problem, West Brom's problem all season, and probably explains why they are where they are.
No, definitely. Well, before we get into the game, we did. You put out a tweet, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought.
I'm just asking, really, one-word responses to the game, and we'll quickly go through some of them.
I'll go through them. So we had Chris come in with snooze, which I think I'd agree with. To be fair, he fell asleep multiple times during that game. Crucial. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Like massive result in the grand scheme, and obviously we know how much of a point is well earned in the Championship. Lucky, I think we were lucky. I think like lucky is a great one, because at the end of the day, although we did what we are good at and kept them to relatively. They had a few big chances, but we were throughout the game we were
The
pretty
tactic
solid.
does require luck. There's no doubt about it. We've seen it so many times.
It does. Fortunate, same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Important, absolutely. Like important. I mean, we know how important a point is at this stage of the season, especially. Fine. I quite like fine. It was fine, wasn't it? That is that. I think that's bang on to me.
I think that probably when you walk away from the game, if you said to me what would be your response, I think fine would be the perfect summary of that.
Yeah.
There was nothing really good. There probably was some bad bits in there, but when you look at it, actually, I think every game in the Championship, the table doesn't say at the end of the year, oh, that was the game you didn't play very well.
So you don't have to remember that game. It's done now. Like we've come away.
There's many games I have put to the back of my memory and locked them away to never think
that one
about
we
again.
don't ever have to address ever again. We move forward from it. Last one, grim. I think that's quite a nice one to finish.
Yeah, between fine and grim, it probably sits somewhere in the middle, doesn't it?
So, yeah, it does.
Yes, I think they all sum it up very, very well.
Yeah.
Well, let's go into the game then. So I think it seemed very clear. I think personally, before the game even started, I thought when the starting lineup came out, it just solidified what we were going there to do, wasn't it? It was the two big boys up top with Leeburn and Dykes again.
Yeah.
We saw Clark coming in, Sichenje coming out, Ramsey Jones. Yeah, it felt like the centre mids were back at that kind of Doherty, Cody. Yeah, we knew what we were going to go there and do. I think there's always a hope that with that starting lineup, at some point, certain things might click into play. And we saw little glimpses of it in the game prior, where a quick one passed from Sichenje or Jones or Ramsey into that midfield, and just a bit of attacking nous of turning on the ball.
Yeah.
We can break through some teams, but I think this was a game where we saw none of that. It was Route 1 at its absolute best.
Do you know what I think as well? Like before the game, I know West Brom fans and their media and everything around the club hyped this game up as like an absolute must-win. It was like It
wasn't for the neutral.
Or bust, really, wasn't it? No, it wasn't.
And we were a big part of that. We went there with a game plan.
But I think they knew we would do that as well. And I heard a few of their fans before the game saying this has got a Nathan Jones S House all over it, which it kind of obviously ended up being that way. And I think we went there when we... The difficulty I've got with it is that I have no issue with us setting up defensively and like sort of shutting up a little bit and actually hitting teams on the counter. But we didn't even hit them on the counter, really. We got our one goal from a counter attack, but there was no real like urgency to get the ball up the pitch at any moment in the game. Like we would just lump it, like you said, and then from that there was nothing today. Like in the game, like it just showed.
But we looked genuinely inept when we got
the
ball.
We looked
like we'd had so little of the ball.
Yeah.
It was just bizarre. We had no composure in any way.
No.
And it was just lump it, hope for a flick on. I don't think the Dykes Leeburn worked again, and we've said this so many times, there's little moments. I think the only way in which it works, and from what we've seen so far of it, is when it's brought into play in like the 70th minute, it seems to be a bit more effective.
Yeah, or having players like TC and quick players like February on the pitch who can actually run in off the flick-ons. So yeah, throughout the game, that was just lump it.
What's your thoughts with that? What are your thoughts when you look at that lineup and the respect that... Because my view is that the respect we give certain teams is incredible.
Yeah.
And I agree with the must-not-lose mentality and the defensive setup. But surely there has got to be a slightly more attacking way we can hit those games and the counter.
They concede goals. Like they're a team that concede goals, and they've no confidence whatsoever. Their manager obviously ended up getting sacked after the game, even after getting a draw. But that's because the way they're playing and the football that they've been putting out on the pitch week in, week out has been really poor. So that means that we should really be going there with the... We should be going there to essentially come away with minimum of a point, which is what happened.
But just a few simple passes around the midfield.
But that's it. Or get your foot on the ball. But when we had the ball, all it was, and we've gone back to this really frustrating thing where we pass it around the back for about 2-3 minutes, and then we decide, okay, we'll lump it up there, lose the ball, or we'll try and play it through the middle, but we'll just play some dreadful pass and lose the ball.
And it is a tough watch sometimes.
Oh,
You do
really
sit
hard.
there and it's quite horrible to watch. But this season, I suppose I look at it and say, I don't really care how we do it as long as we stay up, because you've got to look over those last 10 years and where we've spent most of our time. And this season is very much about it being any way we have to, we stay up. I do sometimes worry, and I think we've seen slight signs of improvement in some games where you can maybe see what we're going for, but I do think it will add pressure to Nathan Jones in the long run once this season, and going into next season, if we do stay up, I do think it's
this season is one that we will forgive that sort of football if we stay up. All his objective has been this season is keep Charlton in the Championship. What does change is next season, when he's had another summer to bring in better sort of creative players. If we're still seeing that style of football, I think we'll start to see fans becoming more agitated, and I think that's rightly so, because I think we can put up with that, watching that sort of football for now, but there has to be a progression and an evolving of the style of play, because as fans, we are desperate to just be at a decent level of football. We can't go back to League One, so we will write that off, but I need to start seeing next season some more creativity, because it is painful.
This season is a job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Next season, I think that's where it's kind of back over to Nathan Jones in the summer, if that is what we end up doing, to try and put something together.
But maybe that's where his head is at.
Maybe
he's like, I've got to put this sort of football out there for now, but my end objective, and I have always thought that with him, is that he's always got a sort of a process in mind where he wants the team to get to a certain level, and I think he needs those certain players in there for that. And I do still think we're massively short in that middle of the park with creativity, which we've said all season. If that comes in the summer, then we might see a change. We should see a change, to be fair.
We should do. It'll be interesting, won't it? So I think, well, going back into that first half, as say, West Brom were very much the team on top. We weren't really. It felt like it was a one moment kind of game if we were going to get anything. I think the first chance of the game, which was pretty nothingy, kind of did drop to us, and it was the Carey on the edge of the area shot. Bit of a pop shot. Caught it all right.
Yeah,
a bit of deflection. Keeper saved it quite easily. But it felt like that was the kind of moment, if we were going to do anything, it was that.
Those sort of moments.
Yeah, it's those sort of moments. It was probably going to come from a flick on, but they then kind of, I felt, were ramping up the pressure towards things. I do feel with them, they had a lot of the time in that first half were a lot of pressure, a lot of territory, but not with that cutting final pulling us apart.
No, I think Johnston got a lot of the ball, and he was very dangerous.
I was impressed. I thought Johnston, Malumbi, I thought was good.
Yeah.
And I thought that Diakite as well in the midfield was really good.
Yeah, they were all good. But I think in particular Johnston was the key focus, to get the ball to him, and he to be fair, he managed to get past our defence quite easily at times.
Well, and I don't know who it was. It might have been Johnson. There's a bit of an alarm bells moment where someone picked up the ball, ran through the midfield, and just was jinking in and out. It ended up going from about the halfway line into our box. And at that point, I thought, okay, this is...
He was dangerous at that sort of cutting back and forward and sort of dummying across and getting some quite good dangerous balls into the box.
Paul Clark was struggling with him defensively.
He was, and also even like Ramsey, because the thing is that Johnston's quick, but he's also got quick feet, and he's also willing to cut inside and things like that. So they never quite knew what he was going to do, and I think he was a danger. But again, we saw that what West Brom have really struggled with is just actually getting on the end of things and actually being clinical in that final third.
Well, I think the first chance they really had was a bit of a kind of bundle around the box, and one of their players, I want to say it was Taylor or Styles, but it might have been one of their more attacking players, a real pop shot, quick turnaround. And that was the first moment where you felt, okay, here we go. Maybe they are starting to get a few chances. It looked like we were going to be going into that first half, though, at 0-0. We've seen it many times this season where at least second half we come out slightly different, and it felt like we needed that regroup, but it wasn't allowed. Really, really poor goal to concede from the corner, free header. Kaminsky?
I mean, the goalkeeping wasn't great, but the header came in.
It was so
point
close.
blank. Yeah,
and
it was headed down into the floor as well. So it was a weird one. That boy who put it away, I can't remember his name now. Campbell. He was quite a unit, to be fair, and obviously he's just been left a little bit free at the back post. And it was a good corner from Moat, to be fair, right to the back stick. But Yeah, I don't think you can blame Kaminsky too much for that one.
I don't think it's blaming Kaminsky, but it's a bit of a weird save, and I think it followed a bit of a narrative of the whole day, really, where it's been weird. We're going to go on to a little bit more detail with Kaminsky later, but another really notable one of the first half, which I think had every Charlton fan very, very concerned. Lloyd Jones pulling up, probably first of all about the 25th minute, tried to run it off, about 10 minutes later went down, and we saw obviously Seshenje come in for him. I think we all knew it was going to happen at some point. I know he had run most of last season with an injury.
Yeah.
This season, amazingly, he's just gone on and on and on through very tough games at times.
Especially the way he plays. He plays very sort of puts everything into it.
I get the feeling rolled his ankle.
Yeah,
I don't think it seemed hugely bad. Jones...
He might be out of the weekend.
Yeah, Jones was kind of talking about the fact we might... Whether he's, I think Jones was joking that I think every single time we come up against Wrexham, he's ended up getting injured or ill or whatever.
The only positive with it though is we've got the likes of Seshenje now who can come on and actually replace.
That, and I think to be honest, before last week's game, I think we would have been looking at it saying, well, we've got an unknown quantity in him. We've got Gillespie as a backup, which we all know where our thoughts kind of sit as that. But yeah, Seshenje, I thought coming in once again, he looks like, I mean, one thing he's got, I mean, I think it was even in that first half, Madja, it was quite early on into Seshenje coming on, and he had kind of played in, and he shows his face, that foot race. And I think with centre-backs sometimes in this league, that can actually be worth its weight in gold.
Oh, massively.
And I think at a higher level, you always saw it with almost like Kyle Walker sometimes. That level of kind of physicality as well as pace can get you out.
It's recovery, isn't it? Like, even if you do go in a bit early, you can recover. And I think he's got that in his locker. He is still quite raw. Like, you can see, like, he mistimed a few challenges. He clattered someone in the game as well. I liked it as well. I
can see him. I think we've said, I think in his development, he's only 22.
Yeah.
I think in his development, we'll probably see him make a few mistakes for us.
He's eager, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
You can tell he's really eager to impress. And I think you can see it. Like, he's putting his absolutely everything in. And he's a no-nonsense defender, which is nice to have because he will put himself about. He got some good blocks clearances in again. Yeah, I'm really impressed with how he started, actually.
Yeah, no, I am as well. Well, that's, as I say, first half kind of summed up. Fingers crossed with Lloyd Jones, it's nothing too bad. Yeah. So coming into that second half, Leeburn comes off, TC comes on. It looks like we're going to try and kind of switch things up. I don't think anything particularly changed too much.
Not massively, no.
And I think that's kind of sung by the fact that then in the 56th minute we had Chambers and Cody coming off as well, just trying to switch things up. I think at that point was when we switched to what looked like a kind of 4-2-3-1 instead. Fevrier coming on, obviously Coventry coming on for Cody. It felt marginally better that second half. I thought we looked a little bit more threatening.
I think marginally is probably
really the key word. I still feel like we just didn't quite. I think the problem is, and I think what probably hits the nail on the head is we go to this 4-2-3-1 that probably allows us to be a bit more creative. But my gut feeling is I think we're starved of it so frequently. Even when we're given the opportunity, we don't know what to do. I don't think players know the positioning. I don't think players, particularly in the mindset of kind of passing it around.
We've got players like Doherty. We talk about Doherty and how good he is at the side of the game where he sort of presses, he harries. That's what he's quality at. But he's the sort of player when he gets on the ball and he's got a bit of time and space, he looks a bit lost. Like he doesn't know where to play the ball to, and you see it. I've seen it a lot this season as well. Like the likes of Coventry, Cody, players like that. Cody, not so much. Since Cody's come in, actually, he's looked a bit more expansive, and he can play the slightly better part.
He can play that kind of cross-field across into like a winger or something.
But like Coventry, the amount of times I've seen him this season where he dribbles it up and has a bit of space, and then he's putting his hands out because he's got nothing really there. And that's, I think, our biggest problem is not many show in that middle. So then when they get into those areas, they're a bit like, okay, well, what do I do now? I'm so used to lumping up the pitch, I haven't got a clue, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think that with it, I think we was, as I say, marginally better, maybe a little bit more dangerous in certain areas, but I thought the players who came on didn't really cover themselves in glory. I
No,
thought Fevrier looked like he was running with shin splints. I mean, he was.
but
he looked like for someone who came on quite
Yeah.
fresh, he was about
I don't
70th, 80th minute. He looked like he was hobbling.
I
as he
don't
was
actually
running.
think he's that quick. Weirdly, I think he's got quite good feet, and he's quite like he's quite nippy at like short bursts. But when I saw him tracking back for one of them, and he looked like he was running in treacle. It was weird.
It was
wasn't
really
it?
bad.
Yeah, I know
It
what you
was
mean.
really bad.
I know what you mean.
I don't quite. Maybe he's just got that burst in.
Yeah, I
attacking
think he's. I
sense,
think
but-
he's got a bit of an acceleration, but over a long distance, he's not that quick.
No.
But anyway, this is quite a funny little point actually.
Yeah, but we then had, I think, a flurry of kind of chances that went through that second half. Very few of them to us, but
Yeah.
I think West Brom will be kicking themselves. They
Madja
were
should
at
have
least 2 or
scored.
3-0 up. Madja, it was a to be fair, it was a nice passage of
Great
play.
little move.
Yeah, it was a nice move, but it was TC who lost the ball once again in a pretty dangerous area. I think he just played a misplaced pass, and we've seen even with the teams that are out of form or whatever, they've got quality players, and little moments can make the difference.
Yeah. Yeah,
I have to admit, I think he'll be having nightmares about that. I don't know.
they were saying Madja hasn't scored since like New Year or something last year in their ground.
You
So
can tell because
yeah,
it was a dreadful finish. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
wasn't
was.
even. It was significantly wide.
yeah, no, it's poor.
I think Sachenje actually got back and had that little burst of pace to put
Yeah.
a bit of pressure on him, but that should
Be tucking that.
well, tucking it or an incredible save.
Yeah,
And for me to be putting it that far wide as a kind of scuffed shot,
yeah, it's criminal.
I was quite happy to know that, and fingers crossed he's going to be their striker for the rest of the season because
Yeah,
from what I saw today,
yeah, not great.
I think he might be a bit of a problem for them. We then had once again just broken down really easily, but quite concerningly. They were running in on our defence with an overlap that was so easy. Nothing our defence could kind of do at that final point. Played in, I think it was to Price.
Yeah, it was.
Once again, no composure.
No, lashed it.
Lashed it. And I think, once again, I think similar to the Madja chance, if that is you hit it on target and the keeper saves it, but it's pretty criminal to be putting those chances over and wide. And
Yeah,
you can see, I think
this is the
these are-
reason why they are where they are. Like they create chances, or they did against us anyway, but just that final finish and the final quality wasn't there, and that is actually where the difference was between us and them in the end, which obviously will.
Well, then we move on to a rare moment for Charlton where we can actually say we got excited in that game.
We'll go over the halfway line.
I mean, it's Ramsey doing what we've said we want to see more from him. He pushed out. They gave him a bit of space, and he kept going. He pushed. Now, it's beautiful. When you watch it back, we had one moment of quality in that whole game, and it came in one passage, I think, all of our little moments. The pass itself, brilliant.
Yeah,
Defending from them, shocking. I don't know what they're doing. Pressing up there.
yeah, it's weird.
They played a relative...
Tried to play the offside.
They kind of played a deep line all day and were holding us out quite well. And to be honest, we were never really getting in behind them the way they were playing. And their one moment, they decided to switch it up.
Yeah,
We just played an incredibly good pass.
yeah, it
but
was.
Dykes, that
The
touch was beautiful, and the finish, just composure. It wasn't the most stunning of finish, but we've seen, and I worry if that was. We've discussed so many times, like Leeburn, for example, and that. I think this is where that experience of like your Dykes is coming in,
100%.
and the way he just kind of took it. Really happy for him after as well. I saw that he was saying how his son's not been very well, and the goal was kind of it was his birthday, and the goal was to him. But I just thought, once again, just showing how important of a signing that is.
He has been absolutely one of the key signings for us this season, and actually, he's brought not only goals, because he's obviously scored. That's his second now, so he's brought a couple.
Second and third assist.
Yeah, so yeah, that's exactly it. So he's even brought assists, but just his work rate. Like I watched him yesterday, and actually, even when we didn't have the ball, which was pretty much the whole game, he just does not stop running, and his press is always there. He works really hard, but then those moments are the moments that change games. And obviously, he was able to, like you said, lovely touch into his sort of path. But then the composure to actually like finish that, like you said, there's others that would have lashed it, would have scuffed at it or whatever. But he's been in the league long enough now that he's probably been in those scenarios quite a few times, and that actually does show.
Well, I think before we signed him, we've seen so much this season of chances, moments where we just don't take the chances and we don't do this. And what I see with Dykes is, do I see him as the absolute answer to all of our problems kind of going forward. No, I think
No.
I want to see us sign him on a longer term. And I actually think he suits Nathan Jones very well.
he
I think he's
does.
very experienced. I think he's brilliant. But it's also such a sign of the kind of player we need to be going for in the summer, in varying different positions. A centre mid with that, not obviously, look, it's just the experience. And I think when you look at so many teams we come up against, even the ones that are lower down, and that includes your Blackburns, your West Broms, your whoever it might be, and that championship experience is littered within there, and you can just see it is a different kind of standard and a different kind of mindset. And I think you can litter League One players and your potential in it, but I think this season we've probably gone and maybe where I don't know if the recruitment I'd say is wrong, because I think if we stay up, you can argue the recruitment has been right. But I think maybe where we've definitely got to look, I'd be disappointed if we went down that route again next year, because I think we need to add more Lyndon Dykes into the squad.
Yeah, that is you're bang on, because actually those are the players that get you up to that next level and that get you a bit of more comfort on the ball, and that's what we've been talking about, how we need players that can sit in and actually like put their head up, play some nice passes at that level, the slightly higher quality players. And you're right as well, like pretty much every team in the Championship has one or two of those in the side. Do we have any? Like Dykes is probably one of the most sort of experienced.
Dykes and probably Cody, but I don't know if he drops into that personally. I think he's perfect for what we need right now, but I'm not 100% sure he even drops into that category.
Yeah,
I think when you look at it, you look at pretty much every other team, and as you say, you look at their starting lineup: Blackburn, Cantwell, like there's players,
especially in the midfield. Pretty much every team has one in the middle of the park, and we don't have that right
Well,
now.
I look at that coming up against West Brom, and I think looking at the squad, it's pretty criminal they are where they are. But when you look at like Price, Malumbi, Johnston, Mowat, Diakite,
even Madger, to be fair, I know he was terrible yesterday, but he at least is he's got some experience. Like he's played for some big clubs, so like
they can keep him.
they know they can keep him too.
But yeah, the goal, and as I say, it's the moment. It's the one thing we needed, and in this game, it felt similar to the Southampton. Once we were 1-0 down, where was a goal going to come from? What we're going to do? Probably less so than Southampton. I don't think they were as dominant, kind of dominating of us, albeit they looked like the better team. And then the end of the game,
West Brom did come on quite strong, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought they did, and I thought we once again we kind of went more into that mindset of now this is a must not lose.
Batten down the hatches.
I do think it's a difficult one at that stage, because I do think you can go for the game, and then it is a bit of a back and forth basketball game where I think losing that is catastrophic. A draw, if we have to go and play dirty at that point, that's kind of what frustrated me, because at the end of the game I'm more accepting of it. Going into it at the beginning is what frustrated me.
I know. Actually, I thought we managed it quite well at the end. We were sort of slowed it right down. When we won a foul or whatever, and throw-ins, we took about a minute a throw-in. So we actually saw the game out quite well in the end. And for all of our sort of gripes and sort of how painful it is to watch, coming away with a point when that is actually a good result.
But at the end of the game, and in those final 20 minutes, there was two times where I think my heart went, and one of them was, I think it might have been Price again or Johnston, I'm not sure, but ball bobbled around again, and Coventry just got in behind.
Towed, didn't he?
Towed.
It was a goal kick as well.
Yeah, they gave it was an awful decision.
I thought that ref was pretty poor.
He was pretty poor. I thought he set a really awful tone at the beginning. I thought he was a very stop-start ref. Once again,
really weird decisions.
Yeah, I thought some really odd ones, and it felt like at certain points as well he was kind of making up for decisions he'd made before. I think he got quite a few wrong in regards to decisions. There was a Ramsey one in the first half as well. But I think I've just accepted EFL refs are 90%
I think we said far too many terrible ones.
Well, I think you just got to look at it, and over the course of a season, you probably find it levels out that they're terrible enough both ways.
Yeah,
you kind of get both sides of it. But that chance, which was quite heart in mouth, that was nothing in comparison to the final, pretty much kick of the game. I think it was bouncing round from a corner. We clear it. Sachenje gets a header out, and I don't know who it was.
Was it Illing Jr.?
No, it was their sub who came on. I think it might have been the Jimo Aloba.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, okay.
And.
Struck it, didn't he?
He caught it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so close that it was like, looking back at the replay, it was like inches. But he caught it so beautifully. Kaminsky was completely beat.
Rooted.
And I was waiting in that game. I felt it had it all over, that they might just get that last minute goal. And because we'd played badly, and we know with Charlton we get one or two ways. We either get the chance at the end and we steal it, or for some reason we throw it away. And you look at like the Pompey game, for example, where we threw away in the last minute inexcusably, and that just felt like that moment. As soon as it dropped, and
Yeah,
it was horrible.
It was horrible, but obviously it went the right side of the post for us.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like in games like that where you're dominated, you're gonna have strikes against you like that, where moments where they're gonna have shots on target, and we rode it out in the end. That's all that mattered.
Yep. Yeah. So no, definitely. Well, let's move on to then from there the kind of key performers and underperformers as well. I thought it was a game where there was a lot of, once again, we described it this season before, passengers kind of sat between. I don't know if I'd say they were the worst on the pitch, but a lot of people who didn't cover themselves in glory. One that I'd say is a special mention, who I thought had a poor game today, but it's had a couple in a row now. Chambers on the left, I think he's looked like, he's a young player who hasn't played that much and is obviously coming back from injury. He felt good in some games, but he felt like he's gone a bit missing a bit.
Yeah, I think he's a player that has a real good technical ability, and I think one thing I do like about him is he does go flying into tackles. I've seen him clear out a few players.
I think sometimes his defensive positioning can be a little bit squiffy, because I look at it, I think Amari Bell went absolutely mental at one point on him, because I think the covering back, and he ended up dragging Amari Bell actually out of position, because Amari Bell was kind of caught between the two players, and he was saying, look, and I quite liked it because it is a young player who you've got experienced heads like Amari Bell. He's trying to kind of teach him.
Well, the reason Liverpool are loaning him out is that for that, isn't it? To teach.
I just think we've seen a few signs of that in the last 2 games, and not to be overly critical, and that's why he's not sitting in our kind of either side of it. I just thought he's definitely been a bit vanilla.
No, you could say that.
Well, let's start on the positives, and then we'll go down the negative train. So positive wise, I think let's start on. There was only 2 players I think we felt who probably came out head held high, and they were both involved in the goal. So let's start on someone who we have been a bit critical of recently. I think someone who hasn't quite felt maybe at his absolute top form that we have seen in a Charlton shirt, but Kane Ramsey I thought had a really good game.
I think so. I think he had a tough task because he was up against Johnston a lot of the time on that right-hand side of the defence. But he held his own, and we always know with Ramsey, that he has the pace, he has the strength to actually be a really effective defender. But the thing that we've sort of been a bit frustrated with is his sort of dribbling the ball out from the defence, which he used to be so good at, and he did a lot. But obviously we saw him do that for the goal, and actually that's more of what we want to see week in, week out from him.
It's also just quite nice to see, as I say, rather than just the route one, there is space
looking for a pass.
Sometimes it is a pass, and if we're going to go route one, go with just a little bit more than the lump. Go route one with a curling pass. That might come off 1 out of 10 times, 1 out of 20 times, but I'd rather see us mixing it up a bit. And as I say, it was just nice to see something that we've been really missing. That I think we know he has in his locker because he has done it in the past. And as I say, it just highlighted it perfectly. But I also just thought across the game that kind of mistake-ridden kind of side of his game that I think we've seen creep in a little bit more over the last 3 or 4 games. He just seemed more solid, a bit more confident, a bit more composed. And I thought out of that back line, he looked definitly the most confident.
Also, a lot of credit for that through ball, because actually that was a really, really nice pass.
And it required some poor defending. But you put in any of those kind of ones, it's a bit like when you lump it up. You generally are playing a pass. You either are absolute kind of De Bruyne-esque, or you are relying probably on a bit of a mistake. But that's what our strikers have got to play off. And actually giving players like Dykes, and I think it's what I felt so sorry for players like Hellman sometimes in the squad, that we've been giving him chances that just aren't in his nature, and relying on him to do something he doesn't.
Pass, doesn't he? But I think Ramsey's worth a shout as one of the better players in that.
Well, I think once again we've said so many times we're going to be critical one week. I think when they do have good performances,
you've got to highlight it.
Got to look at the highlighting, and as I say, I thought it definitely a positive performance from him. The other one, which I think we could just go on and on and on. We've already covered him a little bit, but Lyndon Dykes. I
sign him up. To be fair, I think I put a tweet out after the game saying we need to sign him. I think in terms of, I know we've got until the end of the year, but I'd love to see him have another year at least, because I think he just brings us something that we've really been lacking, which we've spoken about already. But that experience, that sort of ability to just read the game as well. He still won us some pretty cheap free kicks, which again he's so good at backing into defenders. The ref, that was another ref that would buy all those all day long if you were just sort of go down a bit too easy.
But it's nice to see at least one of our players try and play it the other way, because, I say, we end up giving away free kick after free kick, knowing that we've said about our ability to adapt to referees sometimes is abysmal.
Pretty poor, yeah.
But yeah, no, I just thought overall, and I think what's interesting with him is, I think when he came in, he came in at a point where Leeburn was really starting to hit, albeit not goal scoring form. He was actually looking really good in games, and I think most people felt it was going to be either a Addicks or Leeburn running with either a TC, Kelman, Godden, whoever it might be. I would say I still feel that is the kind of setup we need, and it is one of the kind of little and large setup. But for me, Addicks now, when he first came in, it seemed like he was on the team sheet no matter what, but he hadn't quite earned it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel now
he's earned
he has
it now.
100% earned it. And if you said to me, who do you want to be starting? For me, he's
one of the first, isn't he?
One of the first on the team sheet.
But the other thing as well, he got quite a lot of criticism when we signed him. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, his goal scoring record's terrible," blah blah blah. But he's actually shown that he can be clinical. Like, when he gets those chances, he can put the ball in the back of the net. And again, that's something we've been desperate for this year.
He's 5 goal contributions in 9 games.
Yeah, exactly. So he's shown to be really, really important for us. And like I say, I just like the way that he works so hard. He clearly, I saw his interview after the game as well, and he's just saying how he's really enjoying his time there. And you can see it when players are enjoying themselves. You start to see them really flourish.
And we're also seeing what we said when we signed him, which is a player who probably wants to be going to the World Cup. And proving a point there. So,
well, he's doing himself he's doing himself favours there, because I think he is one that actually is a good sort of trump card for a lot of teams, like in the way he plays. So yeah,
no, definitely another one, and I think he's a player that we will be seeing in that kind of key performance more throughout the season. Well, let's move on to then. We said choo-choo, the negative train coming along. Let's start on the I think quite an easy one. Both one that I think we didn't feel had as glaringly obvious issues as other games, but just felt like a very bizarre performance, and that was Kaminsky.
Yeah, I feel like with Kaminsky, he either looks absolutely solid as a rock, or he looks shaky as anything. And I think this was a game where he has so many times. And sometimes I feel like the defence, because they're not used to playing the ball forward, so a lot of the time it gets recycled back to the keeper. But he does get a few that are a little bit off from the defence.
We had a few that he just whacked out.
Well,
and I know the pressure was put on him sometimes. There was a few passes. I think Sachenje played one back to him that was a bit.
He had a couple, but
sometimes his composure there. It felt like a player who didn't want to make a mistake, rather than a player who was confident in his ability.
Also, I feel like sometimes when keepers get a naff pass back, they almost lump it out to make a point. It's like, oh, you've sold me down the river here. But he did that quite a few times. But also, he just, in everything that he did in that game, it just, nothing looked sort of calm, did it? It all looked a bit
and I think
flustered,
sometimes as well, I get a little bit frustrated. He sometimes from like a corner or a cross, he gets the ball, and he does this really erratic kind of looking around for where it is. It's like, he looks for a part. Like there clearly is an option there. But it feels like sometimes he doesn't have the confidence in his own ability. And the easy option, albeit sometimes he'll play out a little role to Amari Bell or whoever, it seems like sometimes his head goes, so the easy option is just to lump it and hope one of the big boys up top gets a header on it, rather than maybe a slightly more directed left or right kick or a throw over the top of something.
Yeah.
It just feels sometimes, I just thought...
Another one I think I've noticed with him is he's not... He will come out and claim the ball from crosses, but... when it's tight in there, I'm not sure whether he could have got to the one where we conceded, but sometimes it feels like he could at least go out and try and get a punch on it, or be a bit more commanding. There were a few where he took it quite nicely, to be fair, that were poor crosses, but I don't know. He was one that you felt, like you said, actually, you just felt like he was a bit shaky, which is not what you want from your goalkeeper.
No, and the more you see performances like that, the more I think it starts to think. It starts to fit into, I don't agree with the narrative of him or Mannion. I don't understand that as a comparison, but it does start to open up a little bit more of a comparison of is it the long-term answer. And the more I see throughout the season, the more I sit more in the camp of I'm not 100% sure.
No, I think I'm...
and I wonder if he's one that maybe I think we'll probably keep him for next season, but then maybe move into like the Belgian leagues or something, or you pass him down even down the divisions, because I'm just not. The more time goes on, I am, as a signing, I'm disappointed, albeit I think he's the best option we've got at the club. I am getting more and more a little bit disappointed.
There's more and more question marks coming up, definitely. Yeah.
Well, let's move on from there, and I think the next one, a bit of a strange one in regards to a negative, but I thought had a poor game, and he's looked a little bit off it recently, albeit it's a difficult one because he's our clutch player and our moment player, and that's Sonny Carey.
Yeah.
I think he looks really... When he picks up the ball at the moment and he's dribbling and running at defender, he doesn't seem to have that confidence he had early in the season. I think he's making some pretty poor choices sometimes. And it seems like, to me, he knows that long shot and getting a goal is kind of what's going to get people off his back and kind of make his performances give a bit more.
A lot of the time, he's always looking for that strike rather than looking up and sort of seeing what's around him.
But I thought today, the chance we had, and it was the first chance of the game, I think the one where he took the long shot, there was, with a bit more composure, potentially a chance to play Lieberman in.
Yeah.
And I think we looked at a game recently where there was that one where he could have played it off to Harry Clark on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And it feels like, I say, that safety blanket is that shot. And it's all that's kind of going right for him at the moment. So it's like becoming his default.
Yeah.
And I think he's showing some of those, maybe the fact he is adapting to the level. Because statistically, he's absolutely brilliant, like the amount of goals he's got in this position. But I think performance-wise, I think he's dropped off quite a bit recently.
I think one thing he does sometimes as well, he holds onto the ball a bit too long. I think that's we rely on him far too much to actually be that main man to get us up the pitch. And I've said this quite a few times now. When he's not off it, it's so visible because he's our only thing that brings us up the pitch. But there was one actually at 1-1, I think it was, where we sort of broke it. We managed to break away again, and he just held onto the ball a little bit too long, and they managed to recover. And actually, we looked dangerous there. We had a sort of 3 or 4 players.
Do you think that decisiveness is about adapting to the level, and he's maybe been used to League One where you get more time, or do you think sometimes it's the sheer lack of creativity and arguably statues in front?
I think that a lot of it is down to what he's got around him and who's getting in and around him when he's got the ball. And I think a lot of the time when he takes those strikes on, it's because actually he feels that's the best option, like for him. And actually it's proven to be the best option a lot of the time this year because he's got a lot of goals. I also, to be fair, I looked him up and he did play some games for Blackpool in the Championship. So before they obviously then came down. So he spent time in the Championship before, but he's probably quite a bit younger, obviously, then. But yeah, maybe he's still trying to sort of suss out how much time he can get on the ball in the Championship. You're going to get a lot less time on the ball in the Championship than you would in League One. So
I think it'd be very interesting to see a Carey within a just slightly more.
I'd just like to see a creative.
And I don't think it's about
player,
having a more expansive team to like being like a complete tiki-taka, but it'd just be nice to see him in a slightly more confident midfield. Because I do think, as I say,
he'll thrive in a team like that.
I think so. But as I say, it can just be frustrating because I think recently some of that. I personally think yes, a lot of it can be the issues around him, but I do also think he's got to take some responsibility for some of those decision making in key moments. I think you've got to rise above it in regards to. I don't think just getting into that mindset of shooting's my way of scoring, so I'm just going to do that every time. Because there is still
that can't always be the default.
No.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it comes across a little bit like it's not I want to be centre of attention, but it's kind of like sometimes I think you just have to look at the bigger picture. And as I say, the Harry Clark one, the Lieberman one in this game, I just think sometimes there has got to be that slightly more mature
but that comes,
Championship head.
I think that comes with him just adapting his game over time. And I think hopefully we'll see that as we go on and get better squad players around him as well. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't his best.
No. And the final one to kind of go on to, I think one that we both felt wasn't great. Probably of these three was the least offensive of them, but Lieberman I thought was pretty poor. I don't know. I just didn't feel.
Yeah,
I feel like Dykes and Lieberman have both got. We've discussed the issues they sometimes have playing up top against each other, but Dykes kind of flourished or looked the better, and I thought Lieberman was noticeably. He's kind of had one of those games where he's getting a bit caught up on the ball.
A bit clumsy, wasn't he? Yeah, he had one I think where the ball got overhit. Cross from Clark, I think it might have been. He managed to get hold of the ball on the corner, and he just sort of. Like you said, he was a bit bumbly yesterday. Like he sort of bumbled the ball around and actually ended up fouling his man and giving a free kick away. And I think a lot of things, again, it's those ones where he's giving away fouls for like prodding someone in the eye or something like that. Do you know what I mean? He is those because he is quite clumsy.
I think
the way he plays.
He got prodded in the eye.
He did get prodded, but I think he might have
eye prodding.
He might have been given a prod back, to be fair. But yeah, no, I don't like. He is one, and I think he is a bit of a victim of the way we play. in terms of coming across as playing not so effectively in some games, because I do feel bad for them sometimes when they're just getting the ball lumped up and they've got nothing.
Yeah, but then I think you've got to look at, as I say, Dykes in that game is understandably, I suppose, as I say, I think sometimes I just look at it and think the experience and sometimes just the head sometimes towards certain decisions and
Yeah.
say just didn't look sharp. And we've, to be honest, of recent games, I think we've been saying he definitely looks a bit sharper, a bit more this, a bit more that. But I just thought it was a game that noticeably he seemed in that attack.
And another thing, obviously, his goal tally's been pretty abysmal this year, to be fair.
Well, it's definitely something you've got to improve because, say, you've got a player now. I don't know what Leeburn is for the season, but I'm pretty sure Dykes will have come in and blown him away so far in goal contributions, and that's in less than half a season playing in the same squad in the same way. So
it highlights it.
Yep, no, definitely. And I think there were people there as well. We could have gone on to. I think we just got bored of that of trying to bring up TC again. I don't think he had his finest hour, but it's just broken record and couldn't be bothered on that one. That's the West Brom game. I say not one that will live long in memory, but I think one that I
think, side note, obviously they end up sacking the manager about an hour after the game.
What do you think it says about managers this season? If you lose to Charlton, it seems to be a sackable offence, because I think that must have been the second or third manager.
It's happened a couple of times this year.
Is that, I don't know if that's a... Is that a...
Yeah, I don't take it as a compliment. I think...
you lost to Charlton?
Yeah, that's the final straw usually. But to be honest, I think that when you look at what their managers came in and did, he didn't get a win in 9 games, and they're obviously clearly in dire straits now. So
there's of all the games, I think from what I've seen online, West Brom fans would say that's probably more on the players in that game, because realistically,
I think the performance was one of the better ones they've seen under him before he left. But
it's inexcusable, and I think
results,
it's also as well. It's such an out there kind of appointment. It kind of needed to be instantly successful for it to. If it isn't, it's like
MLS, wasn't it?
It kind of reminds me of when Rooney's gone into a club, and it's like instantly, unless it goes right, it's going to go sour very quickly. And it felt like it got pretty untenable, didn't it? So,
it'll be interesting to see who they get in now. I think they've put in Morrison as a sort of interim, James Morrison. But well,
hopefully he's terrible. But let's move on then. So we've got an important game coming up next. A couple of home games in a row, which I think, looking at these 2 fixtures, I think it's a saving grace. I think we've got 2 very tough games, but the next one coming up will be on Saturday, 3:00 kickoff at the Valley against our good friends Wrexham.
Yeah, Wrexham are always a weird one. Like we've always said there's a bit of a circus. I think that's one that's been levered at them a few times.
Yeah.
But they have looked pretty strong. They've sort of turned a corner, and actually we saw them struggling at the beginning of the championship season, but now they're pushing, and they're looking in the playoff sort of places now.
Well, I think when you probably look at it, the amount of money they've spent, you'd expect them to.
Yeah.
I think it's a difficult one, because I think there's always that feeling that, I mean, they could be the first ever team to go like back to back to back to. I don't know how many times it is, but you always feel like they found the level. I think this season's probably the biggest they've gone by a country mile in regards to finances outward, and I think there's been some big question marks over whether Parky would be the right man to do it. But realistically, I mean, they're getting some really, really good results. I think they
beat Ipswich, didn't they?
Well, they've done the double over Ipswich in regards to the FA Cup and League. 5-3 in the league, 2-2 draw away to Bristol City, lost 2-0 at home to Millwall, but it's not. I mean, you look at it there. I think tonight they're 3-0 up. I don't know what the score was in the end against Birmingham, and beating a pretty informed Pompey side 2-1 at the racecourse. So
tough
I
game.
think it's going to be a really tough game.
They've got players that can really hurt you, like Kiefer Moore's banging them in for fun now.
I'm worried about I think we really need like a Lloyd Jones against Kiefer Moore personally. I mean, that kind of, he suits playing up against him very well, and can probably manage him better than I worry about a player like Sachenja.
I'm not sure Jones is going to be in the team this weekend, so I think that could be really a dangerous one. But I mean, you're right. Wrexham have spent a lot of money, so you'd expect like a really good, well drilled team on that on Saturday, and I think we are going to have to. I don't think it's a game where we can just batten down the hatches again, especially at the Valley. we've got to try and put up a fight in that one.
I think we have. I think the danger that comes from them that concerns me is I think they have a very even spread of ability and goals, and I think that's one of the things that makes them quite strong this season. I think when you look across it, we've got Kabore, who we know kind of caused us a lot of problems, albeit we will at least have a left wing back defending him this time. But you got Windass 9 goals, 5 assists, Broadhead 4 assists, 5 goals. You got Sam Smith on 6 goals. You got Kiefer Moore on 11. Midfield of Dobson's just signed a new contract. I saw as well. But I think it'll be a very interesting one. I thought it was a weird game when we played them last. I think it was a game of 2 halves, wasn't it? We actually had a point in that first half where I think we, from memory, dominated them and actually should have probably been in the lead, and then they absolutely run riot as it came in, and we were probably quite lucky to take them. Did we lose? Or
I can't recall, actually. I don't know. Might be able to find that out quickly. But yeah, no, I mean, Wrexham as a club, they have gone from strength to strength to strength, and actually we're still seeing them pushing on. And I think in our predictions we put them quite low down in this
1-0 Windass 77th minute. That was the penalty, the Hernandez handball.
Yeah, I remember it.
I do remember it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it'll be an interesting game. So I'm glad that's at home because we got that, and then we got the Birmingham game as well at home. So I think they're 2 important fixtures. I think realistically, all we can hope for in these games, I think where I want to see slightly better performances, but I'm not sure we're going to go into a completely different mindset. It seemed after the game we've just had, Nathan Jones seems to be getting a bit frustrated at some of the players and the performances. I wonder if there is going to be a bit of a switch up there.
Yeah, and he actually made a comment in his interview at the end. He was saying, maybe I need to switch it up. So actually, I think you're right. I think we could see some change of personnel, and actually that might not be a bad thing, freshen it up. I think we've spoken about this for a while now, and we've probably had certain games where we needed to change players, and then we haven't, and that's probably shown.
Coventry ranking Costello and Carey.
Yeah. Well, we might see it. You never know. We may well.
13 games later, where I was adamant he was going to come in, but I'd like to see ranking Costello get a few more minutes because I actually think he was playing quite well at one point. Albeit, I think we just felt. I think he's that kind of more holding mid, but with just a little bit more
dribble the ball forward a bit.
Ball forward, albeit he's not got the pace particularly to do it too effectively, but also got a bit better pass. I would like to see him drop in a bit more because I think we were just starting to see a bit of a better side of him. And then it feels like if you put him out of the squad for this long, you're just putting him back in and having to build back up. And I kind of feel that with Kelman to a certain extent. He seems to be a bit frozen out at the moment. I know his performances haven't been as good recently, and I think the concerning thing with his current form is that I think beforehand we said no goals, but he was looking really involved. He seems to have dropped off on that when he has been involved in games as of late. But I just worry freezing him out makes him a much worse player. I think he needs to be getting a bit more minutes on the board.
Yeah, we spoke the other day about how if we can get to that magic sort of 50 mark and feel like we're safe, that might be the time to really bring some of those players in, especially like a Kelman, to try and get him back up to where we expect him to be. But at the moment, these games are so crucial for us in terms of getting points on the board to keep us up. We've got to be quite pragmatic about the team and the players we put out.
Element of ruthlessness as well.
Yeah,
and I think the only thing you can say about things at the moment is, as much as performances sometimes can be a bit turgid and a bit not the nicest on the eye, at least we are getting a similar kind of starting lineup as well. And
we're getting results from it as well. So.
But it's continuity, isn't it? And I think we discussed this season, there's been so many problems with what feels like Nathan Jones not knowing his starting lineup. And actually with it, at least that we are getting that. Even though it's pretty terrible watch sometimes, but it's picking up points, and I think
that is it. At the end of the day,
the rest of the season on the last 6 or 7 games, we'd be comfortably safe in regards to the average kind of points per game. And I do think it probably works more effective against teams that are better, which maybe will go more positive into the Wrexham game and also the Birmingham game, because we've got a mate who's a Birmingham fan, and he said in the last 3 games Charlton played in League One last season and the game this season as well, we're the most horrible team to play.
Yeah, and we do set up that way, to be fair. So yeah, it'd be interesting. This game's another big one. They're all big now, but it's one that if we did lose the game, I'm not going to be devastated. But I think they're there to be got at.
I think both Wrexham and Birmingham, there's opportunities there. I don't think I'd look at either of those games and say it doesn't feel like we're playing.
They're not going to be the definers, are they?
Well, I personally, I'd feel less confident about Southampton away, which we picked up a point. than those two games. So I think we've got the home element of it, and I think Southampton are probably the most. You've only got to look at what they did after us and absolutely dismantled QPR 5-0. So,
exactly.
Although there's an argument to say they should have done that to us. But
yeah.
well, let's finish it off. We'll bring up the league table quickly. So we're sitting in after tonight's games, 18th, 41 points. Leicester sitting down on 34, currently in the relegation zone. It seems, I have to admit, that relegation scrap at the moment, I'm finding it very, very difficult to judge. I think you've got West Brom are really teetering because I think they're only a point above, but they've obviously got, who are they going to get in? I think you look at Leicester, is it Gary Rowett?
Yeah, Rowett's in now.
That kind of worries me a little bit because I think he's almost
got
like
a couple of draws.
perfect. Blackburn, new manager coming.
O'Neill.
O'Neill seems to have really turned kind of their fortunes round a bit, and they seem to be playing better football. Portsmouth on this incredible high, but they're still 2 points behind us and have kind of spurred those games in hand.
It's by no means cut and dry, or we're not safe at all yet. Like,
no.
So
I do worry looking at the teams that they are. We talk about like the record-breaking kind of, you need to get to this because this is the highest it's been. I do kind of sit, and more I look at it, I wonder if it is going to sit on the higher points talent this
I think
year.
it might do, because those teams that are down the bottom are like strong sides this year. So,
and they are the kind of teams that, as I say, we've only got to look at the West Brom performance and Leicester, for example.
Leicester are going to pick up results.
But Leicester, if you actually add on their points, would still be sitting, I think, below us now because they only have the 6-point deduction, but they would be in a slightly better position than what they are now. So, yeah, so it'll be a very interesting running, and that's why I think it'd be so nice if we can just pick up a few results, turn the fortunes a little bit, and pick up a couple of wins. I think you would.
Those points as well you get from unexpected games, they're the ones that really boost you up there, actually. So, if we could get something from Wrexham or Birmingham, then that would be massive. But,
let's see. Let's wait and see. Well, we will be back. Yes, we'll be back recording on Saturday night to release on Sunday morning for the Wrexham game. Just a reminder, if you have watched and you do like and you do enjoy the videos, please do remember to just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It really helps us out with supporting the channel. And yes, hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next one.